I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, December the 28th, brought to you in part by Vitaliks, convenient and economical source of energy to help get your cattle through the cold. You can also increase conception rates, weaning weights, make your cattle healthier and more immune, and increase your overall daily gain. Get the blue tub. Go to vitaliks.com. Weight lost, you're talking about getting cattle through the cold. We've lost a significant amount of cattle weight. Didn't hear too many big stories at all about death loss during the frigid cold. Of course, the cold doesn't bother the cattle near as much as it bothers us, but it does take them more energy to get through the cold, and they burn off a lot of that energy that normally they'd be making weight with whenever it's really cold outside. So we've lost a significant amount of beef. I mean, we sell our beef in pounds, we sell our cattle in pounds, and you could add it up and it would come to a lot of cattle if we'd actually lost the cattle, but we've just lost the weight on them. We burnt that weight. It's just fizzled up into cold, thin air, and it's gone. So now you've got guys that's got cattle that's been on the show list, or cattle that they thought that they were ready, finished cattle, ready to sell to the packer. Now they may want to keep them in some instances and try to put that weight back on them if they can get it on in a quick way. Some guys want to go ahead and get them gone. Quit wasting time and money on them, but that was a significant amount of weight that was lost, significant amount of money that was lost, and we're going to have some more of those this winter. You just know it. We're going to have some more cold snaps that do that, but as much as it costs to put pounds on them now, you just really hate to lose that. You hate to lose it any time, but especially when it's costing what it's costing now. And in most cases at least a $1.50 a pound, and when you get those cattle close to the end there, it's going to cost significantly more than that, probably closer to $2 a pound to put those pounds on. So it's not a good deal for finished cattle on the show list whenever you have these really cold snaps like we just had. Also, you know, we're just so short of forage. It was so dry in so many places this last summer, and we didn't get near the hay put up as we normally put up. Everybody's pastures are pretty depleted, so we're dealing with not nearly enough forage out there. Well, we lost some more of that last week in the bitter cold temperatures, and it's bad on your wheat pasture. You know, we did finally get some wheat pasture in many areas in the southern plains here over the last several weeks. It didn't look like we were going to get any whenever we first started talking about having wheat, and we didn't get to turn them out November the 15th like we normally would like to, but a lot of guys did get some cattle turned out in December sometime, because we did have some timely rains late in the fall that allowed us to get some wheat pasture growing up there, especially in certain areas. You know, the area between West Texas and North Texas, right in there, they received some pretty good moisture in that Seymour and that Wichita Falls, going up into southwest Oklahoma areas. They got some pretty good rainfall there and ended up having some decent wheat pasture. But when you get the bitter cold temperatures like we had this last week, you know, that wheat almost curls up and crawls in the ground. You know, that winter wheat will grow even if it gets down there below freezing at night, and if you get some sunshine, some warmth during the day, that stuff will continue to grow. But when you get the bitter cold temperatures, the below zeros, and then lasting day after day, it really zaps it, and we probably won't see much more wheat growth now until we get closer to spring. So that you know, took a lot of that forage out of play that we normally get to use, and so we're just that much more short of forage now. And even in the southeast, we're seeing the ryegrass pastures out down there where they normally graze in the wintertime. Those have gotten zapped. Keep track with my friend Wesley Grantham down in Alabama, and he had on Twitter there, he showed some pictures of I think it was December the 14th when he showed some pictures of some cattle that he had turned out on ryegrass, and he had posted some videos of him turning some cattle out on ryegrass, and I mean, just make your mouth water and make you green with envy. There's nothing more fun to do than turn fresh cattle out on ample pastures. But man, did he have plenty of grazing there to last him through the winter. And then they got that bitter cold temperatures too in Alabama. I was also talking to Jerry Etheridge, there, a friend of mine, and he said he doesn't remember that happening for a long time, having day after day after day of down in the low 20s, and it has zapped the ryegrass pastures in the southeast. And so now those kind of have to be eaten off. You have to get some more moisture there, and then you have to have some warm temperatures and sunshine to kind of get that crank back up again. But man, lost quite a bit of really lush pasture right there. And speaking of Jerry Etheridge and those friends of mine down in Alabama, January the 18th, I'm going to be going down to Demopolis, Alabama, to the Elite Livestock Kickoff Sale and Producer Meeting there. Elite Livestock, that's the guys that used to be at Montgomery Stockyards, and they're not at Montgomery Stockyards anymore, still holding their video sales, doing it with help from DV Auction, but they still got the same contacts, still got the same guys working for them, same field men, everything, but they have changed that to Elite Livestock, and they are having their kickoff New Year's sale there, and it's not going to be one of their bigger sales. They usually have those in the summertime, but you do need to start thinking about Elite Livestock video auctions there, and they're going to be having this producer meeting at the Cedars in Demopolis, Alabama. Going to have several speakers, including me. IMI Global is going to be there. Adams Land and Cattle Company is going to be there. Eric Smith, another friend of mine there that sells LRPs down in that part of the country, is going to be there, and they are going to have the video sale there on Wednesday, January the 18th, so keep that in mind. Also want to announce something that just happened with my friends, the Herzogs, in Butler, Missouri, that own Mocan Livestock Market. They've also got the Herzog Meat Company. When we went through the pandemic and they saw how vulnerable we were to not be able to have locally owned, locally raised, locally slaughtered, processed, and served beef, they got right with it. There's a lot of people that talked about it. They're one of them that really got with it. They went in there and built a state-of-the-art smaller packing house there, not far from their auction market, and they have been doing a bang-up job. I've talked about them several times about some of the troubles they've had and some of the fights they've had to try to get share of the meat counter there. But they have went into partnerships with SGC, which is Springfield Grocers, long time well-known family there in Springfield. They've been in business, I think, for over 100 years. People trust their food products, and they went into partnership with them, Herzog Meat Company, and they are now going to be having premium quality, locally grown, locally processed beef that people can really rest on and feel good about purchasing in their markets at SGC in that Springfield, Missouri area. So congratulations to the Herzogs. Let's talk about your board. On Tuesday, December live cattle futures were down 7 cents at 156.82. February was up 12 cents at 157.87. Your back months were just kind of mixed, really a nothing day in the live cattle pits, from down 17 to up 15. So that slightly bearish cattle and feed report did not affect that. Now your feeder cattle futures were lower, and I think it had more to do with corn being up than it did the cattle and feed report that was slightly bearish on your placements, if you remember. But January feeder cattle on Tuesday were down 90 cents, settling at 183.10. March was down $1.35 at 185.40. Back months were all down from 30 cents to $1.12. Chicago Board of Trade grain futures, March corn up 8.5 cents at 674 3/4. January soybeans were up 3.25 cents at 14.82 1/4. Weighted average on last week's holiday run of 5-area feeding region direct feedlot sales totaled up 36,100 head is all, compared to a more normal movement the previous week of 65,900, and even a lighter holiday movement a year ago this week at 31,300. But your prices were some higher, so a lot of you guys didn't realize that, but the market was a little better last week, and we weren't really expecting to gain any ground last week. We have been expected to gain some ground this week. So let's go ahead and take what we got last week and add some more to it. How about that? Your live sales steers and heifers last week in your 5-area feeding region were about $1 higher, from unsteady to $1 higher mostly, 154 to 159. Weighted average on live steers was 156.26, and that was up 57 cents. Basically, your Northern Plains sold live cattle again from 156 to 157, but a little bit heavier on the 157. Southern Plains at 156. Dress sales in the Northern Plains mostly 249, and that was a full $1 higher. Did see our price spread on dress sales from 245 to 249. Weighted average on dress steers 248.70. That was up 90 cents. So, like I said, a full $1 higher there. Nationwide, our negotiated movement was 44,100 head. Of course, that's light for a holiday, but still about 12% of those are for the 2 to 4 week delivery, which is lighter percentage than normal. So they weren't setting too many cattle up for the short term future there to kind of get the market set up for a fall, because they're still hungry and they're still short bought, guys. But 44,100 negotiated, pure negotiated grid was 28,200 last week. Forward contracts were 34,400, and formula non-competitive sweetheart deals 229,900 head. Did have a fat cattle auction at Yankton on Tuesday, like they do every Tuesday. Had about 1,400 head of fat cattle there. It's the biggest fat cattle auction in the nation, and pretty respectable run for a right smack in the middle of your holidays there. But your conventional fed cattle there at Yankton's at Stockman's Livestock sold basically steady from 157 to 159, which would have been steady with last week. And your drug-free or non-implanted cattle were up to 165, and that was pretty much steady also. So, there's still plenty of demand out there despite the lighter kills, but they're getting ramped up to really get things cranked off here in the new year, and they will be aggressively looking for cattle here the rest of this week and to start the first week of the new year. Box beef cutout values sharply higher on choice, up $8.09. We've been seeing this very volatile, but it's been mostly on the upside here of late. But 280.04 on choice cuts. That has gained a ton of ground here right here during the holidays, and normally we don't see that. Evidently, we had some customers out there that were short bought and needed to get some product in there right away. But selects up 17 cents at 245.64. So we got a huge choice select spread now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that choice mark back off quite a bit here later this week. But still, they're getting stuff sold, and don't think that those packers don't know how to charge for that beef, just like they know how to try to pay as little as they can for our fat cattle. Slaughter through the first 2 days of this week, 134,000. That's pretty disappointing, but we hardly had anything at all on Monday because that was your actual Christmas holiday. But 134,000, that was down 90,000 from last week, down 100,000 from the same week a year ago, with your holidays falling on different exact days there. But let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. Late in the day on Tuesday, a holiday at 177.81. That was up $3.26 from Monday's, the end of Monday's trade there, because we had run completely out of cattle. We'd run out of feeder cattle auctions, and we were just winding down on our 7-day moving average. Well, we had a few sales, basically just a couple of sales on Tuesday. We're going to have several sales here on Wednesday and Thursday as we go forward. But I'm going to be heading down to Cattleman's Livestock of Columbus, Texas on Thursday for a bred cows special sale there, commercial type deal. If you guys are interested in some tiger stripe Brayfords, some cattle that do well in South Texas, or maybe over in Louisiana, or maybe Mississippi, get on to dvauction.com on Thursday and watch that sale there in Columbus, Texas. Going to be several top quality feeder cattle auctions and special type sales in the Northern Plains happening on Thursday. Bassett, Valentine, Columbus, Kearney, Nebraska. It is really going to crank up your index levels. I mean, crank them straight up. And we're not going to have much at all going on in the Southern Plains to balance it off or to pull it down. So get ready for this real-time index and your CME cash feeder cattle index to turn straight up here towards the end of this week, and of course with the CME cash feeder cattle index, it'll probably take till first of next week before we realize that, but that could play some games with your feeder cattle board there too. But talk about the sales that we did see. Your Zoetis stick out sale of the day was Denny Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas. And I mean, they had a good sale. People were ready to go back to work. Those order buyers are ready to get some commission to pay their Christmas bills with. Feedlots were ready to get some new cattle in the pens, and they had some nice cattle on offer there. Look at these 7 loads of 8 to 950 pound yearling feeder steers here, and they bring from 174.85 to 179. Very respectable there. Another sale that I noticed, and about the only other sale of any size that I noticed, was Huron, South Dakota. Huron Continental Marketing, they had an individual quote, 73 steers weighed 760 pounds at 190 and a quarter. But your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, indeed come out of Denny Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas, was 140 steers weighed 714 pounds at $1.95. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.